Knightline is brought to you by the Dever Team, your source for New Smyrna Beach real estate and everything else New Smyrna Beach. Go to www.thedeverteam.com and call UCF alumni Travis Dever for all your New Smyrna Beach needs. 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636.
Welcome to UCF Knightline, your source for UCF sports and former player information.
Hello, Night Nation. This is Andrew Phegley coming to you from the 1148 studios. My voice is a little crazy today, of course, but this is Knightline 173 from the award-winning Knightline Sports Network. Joining me as always,
Trace Trylko. Hello, everyone. One hell of a team, our Knights. Perfect again. One hell of a show. This week's Knightline lineup includes football analysis from Kyle Israel, basketball breakdowns from Ben Stout, post-AAC championship game sound, including exclusive one-on-ones with Jordan Johnson, A.J. Wooten, Brendan Hayes, and Nate Evans. Plus, we're talking about the game, the snub, and the bowl. But first,
we are the champions. We are the champions.
That's right. Our undefeated Knights are back-to-back American champions following a thrilling 56-41 win over Memphis with a packed house clad in flowered leis. Thoughts still with Mackenzie Milton, of course, but a new hero has emerged. Title game MVP Daryl Mack Jr. Holy Moses. What a game.
Just as we
by
all predicted.
DJ Mack. Well, I thought that he would get it together, but I had no idea that he would get it together like that. I mean, he played, that was the game of his life. I don't know about high school. He may have had a better game in high school, but man, you couldn't have written a Cinderella story any better than that.
Several times on Twitter, I posted during the game, this is not what you want to do for your freshman quarterback in the AAC championship game. Have him down 17 points multiple times. They put him into a hole, didn't they?
Yeah, well,
and he dug out.
Or is it what you want to do for your freshman quarterback? Redshirt freshman quarterback, by the way, but still, mentally he handled it tremendously. That's, I think, what did it physically and mentally. He handled it, perfectly. I think the mental part of it is going to do wonders for him later on in his career. Being able to step into a huge spotlight, a huge hole left where Mackenzie Milton would have been, and to be able to perform like that mentally is huge. That's bigger than the physical part. To not, to go out there and fumble a couple times and not just lay down and in a fetal position on the sideline, to be honest with you, that's huge for him to do that. So
we were so concerned just 1 week ago about what the future of the program looked like. Obviously, our concerns first and foremost about Mackenzie Milton's well-being. Yes. But we're also thinking ahead and wondering, well, for this audition of sorts, how will Mack perform? We'd seen him obviously step in Tampa and lead the Knights to victory, and also in that East Carolina game earlier in the year. But the stakes were significantly higher here, obviously, in the fourth game to be played against Memphis, back-to-back. Boy, classics, huh?
I wonder, to be honest with you, now that I'm really thinking about it, I wonder if there was a little trickery going on with showing what Daryl Mack had in those other games, because he had a lot more than we had ever seen before. In the ECU game, it looked like he couldn't even throw the ball. It looked like all he could do was run it. So do you think that maybe there was a little hidden stuff? Okay, we're going to let him do this. We're not going to let him, and we haven't seen him throw the ball hardly at all. He had not thrown any touchdown passes in garbage time or anything like that. So
I think it was what either Nick or Kyle or both said, opportunity to practice all week with the one, significant reps.
He gets reps with the ones anyway. every week.
But this was significant.
No, I understand that, but still, I don't know. It was night and day from what we had ever seen from him before. So, and that's not 1 week of practice that gets you that.
True.
I guarantee.
True. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, what else do we have to talk about as far as that? We're going to the Fiesta Bowl.
Oh, yeah, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, you got so much news packed into this one. And oh, yeah, by the way, snubbed again by the college football playoff cartel.
Like we weren't expecting that. Was anybody really not expecting that?
Nah, it's still a repudiation of all that has happened.
I didn't even
by
watch
this group.
that show. I
didn't
just
either.
waited for the alerts to pop up on my phone, and I wasn't even, waiting for that because I knew we would get screwed again.
Nor was the announcement of the Fiesta Bowl surprise either.
No, or the opponent, to be honest with you.
No, I kind of knew that as well.
Yeah, I mean it's fine. I think Kyle said it best. He said it here, or maybe it was you. I don't remember. When we were talking to Kyle, somebody said about the Fiesta Bowl a couple of years ago, we would have done anything we could to get in the Fiesta Bowl, and now we're kind of like, yeah, we're going to the Fiesta Bowl.
I think it's the cost factor for most fans. It's an expensive destination on short notice, and UCF hasn't been around long enough. It doesn't have the generations and older money that can just drop $600, $700, $800 on airfare. It's a younger alumni base, younger fan base, and that's a tight ticket. Airlines and hotels, and you're into dropping $1,000, easy on a trip like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, well, I didn't see that you wrote this in here for me. Gosh darn it. I wish I would have read this before I started talking.
The notes are sometimes helpful.
Yeah. You do such a good job on these notes, and I hardly read them at all. So it's all good, though. Thank you. Anyway, I might edit this out. I may not. I've kind of been lackadaisical on editing lately. I think that maybe we should just do this as it is instead of me trying to make myself sound more intelligent. It's just more fun like this, I think.
When I leave the 1148 studios, you're going back in and recutting a lot of stuff, aren't you?
No, I don't
You're
ever
just saying
recut
these things
anything.
over
No,
again?
I don't ever do that. I just fix stuff. I'm a master of audio editing. I can make myself sound way better than I normally do. I just edit myself more than anything else, too. So, anyway, you guys don't need to know that, but you already do. So, no, it's all good. I think I'm going to edit a lot less. It takes a lot of time, so everything doesn't need to be perfect. Okay, so I got lots of sound bites. Not a ton compared to what I normally do. We've got all kinds of stuff, though. How about this? The one that I want to hear is, a lot of us were at the stadium yesterday and weren't able to hear like the interviews and stuff on the field. So I want to hear the interview from DJ Mack on the field post the game.
Here with Daryl Mack Jr., who just had the game of his life. Can you just describe to me the emotions of playing in this championship game?
It's just a blessing, man. Being out here, being able to get my first start out here in front of Night Nation, playing for my brother. I just can't explain it. I'm just happy we got it done.
For you, the first half was tough. The 3 fumbles. What was your mentality coming into the second half?
My team just kept me up, just telling me take the next play, and that's what I did. And I just talked to God for a little bit, and he told me that I was good. So after that, I just put my head down and played the game.
Your play changed in the second half, but really the entire team as a whole did. What did Coach Heupel tell you guys?
We've been in battles like this before. So the one thing he told us is just keep playing our game. And, the defense played lights out second half, and I can't thank those guys enough.
Anything you want to say to Mackenzie Milton?
I love you, bro. And this for you, baby. I love you. I'm going to call you when we get back in the locker room, boy. I love you.
Thanks, CJ.
Thank you, guys.
If that doesn't put a smile on your face, I don't know what would. That's awesome. Absolutely awesome. I'm so happy for him to get a game like that and to play a game like that just for him.
Well, it did work for me. That's the first time I'm hearing it, so I smiled when he said it.
Yeah.
I got through half the game, but with basketball on in the afternoon, I didn't find 4 hours today to rewatch that epic game. So
yeah, I
not familiar
haven't
with
got
that
to
sound.
watch it either, but it's on ESPN on the little thing where you can watch stuff later and Plus and all that, and so I can't wait to watch it and just I like to hear what the commentators say sometimes. So, and then all the little pieces that they put in it are always cool. So. All right, well, that was that. Let's hear what Josh Heupel had to say immediately following the game. This is in the press room. I didn't get his on-field interview.
So excited for our university and our program, our players, again, to take home another championship. Just really proud of the way our guys competed for 60 minutes. Obviously, it wasn't going well in the first 30 minutes of play. Uncharacteristic turnovers from us. Had a hard time stopping the run early. But again, our kids just continue to fight. And believe in the guy next to them, believe in themselves, believe in what we're doing inside of our program, come out the next 30 minutes and play absolutely fantastic football. Appreciate our coaches, their ability to make adjustments at halftime, our kids having the maturity and understanding to be able to take those adjustments and go execute. And just really proud of what these kids have done. Not just tonight on the football field, but since we've been here, 11 months of work building up to this moment.
Also, first I'm hearing this, I decided to do something a little bit different instead of being in that post-game press conference with Coach Heupel. This, because it was an American Athletic Conference championship game, you had access to players' locker rooms. So I knew you could pick up this sound from the American, and I zigged over to the locker room, and that's how we were able to get some exclusive one-on-ones. I did hop on the Fiesta Bowl conference call Sunday late in the day, and Coach Heupel was asked what his thoughts were on the announcement of the Fiesta Bowl, and he said he wasn't there for it. He was out recruiting. Of course, they want to be in the American Athletic Conference championship game, but he said it was disruptive in that they lost some days out recruiting. I like hearing that instead of watching that made-for-TV moment, which his team and coaches certainly got to enjoy. He was out recruiting early this Sunday morning.
And they talked to Wyatt Miller on ESPN. I did see that. I didn't record it, but I heard it. So that's good. And here is that bowl announcement. As since you spoke of that, here we go.
The PlayStation Fiesta Bowl. LSU and UCF.
What do you think about
that? 25 wins in a row. That's at 1 o'clock Eastern time on Easter Day.
That one. Josh, I love that. Gets his team. They're going to be fired up. Another SEC opponent and another opportunity for UCF to show they can play with a big boy.
And what UCF just showed with Darryl Mack at quarterback is that this offense can still score points, and they can throw the ball. That was a big question for them, I think, playing Memphis this past weekend. Could they have as much success through the air? Darryl Mack looked phenomenal. 6'3", 230, can run.
Big boy.
He prevents a lot of problems.
Gave up a lot of rush yards against Memphis.
401.
Yeah, and this LSU team is going to watch that film and say, let's go run it at them.
Wonder if the bowl game last year gets LSU's attention. I know Greedy Williams and these guys,
Devin White.
But I'm just saying, if you're Coach O, you just show the game film from last year's bowl game against Auburn.
And UCF is ranked higher than LSU.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about get their attention, that should get your attention.
Yeah. Wonder what the line will be on that. Bear, is that out yet, Bear?
6.
LSU minus 6.
That's what he said. That's Bear's line.
Give or take.
Give or take.
Bears?
Oh,
give or
Bears.
take her. Bears pretty spot on. So.
All right, yeah. That is New Year's Day at 1 o'clock Eastern time.
All right. Well, the thing that I like about that, it's I know a lot of people were clamoring for the Peach Bowl and all that stuff, but I like that it's an actual New Year's Day game instead of a December 29th game, I think is when the Peach Bowl is. And LSU should be a formidable opponent, I think. So, and like they said, they always want to see us play with the big boys. Well, that's a big boy, and they've had a lot of bowl victories and all that stuff. So I think this is their 50th bowl that they've been to.
50th bowl. Updating some information since that came out on Sunday afternoon. You'll find the UCF line anywhere between 6, 7. Some places have it as 10. So certainly doesn't seem like it will be as much as Auburn or Baylor.
And we're the underdog?
The underdog.
Okay. The higher-ranked team is the underdog.
That is correct.
That's interesting.
Also, you heard reference to the talented cornerback, Greedy Williams. There's quite a name. He has decided that he's going to skip the bowl and enter the NFL draft. So that is one less defender that the UCF offense will have to face. And there could be other announcements while we were on that conference call. head coach Orgeron from LSU said that he'd be meeting with the team and get everybody else's intentions. There could be a couple of players that opt not to play in the bowl game.
From what I hear, I don't expect any of ours to opt out. So that's good, as far as I know yet. So we shall see about that, and we'll have updates, throughout the next coming weeks as far as that go. But that's good. All right, let's hear what Josh Heupel had to say about Daryl Mack.
I believe going in that we had an opportunity to make some plays in the passing game with our skill guys. Protectionally, we were able to hold up most of the night. We had the one fumble early in the first half where the ball's getting knocked out of his hands right as he's getting ready to release it. I believe in our skill guys out on the perimeter. Believed in DJ that he was going to go out and operate really efficiently. I think he had great comfort in the game plan, was confident in reading the defense from the other side of it, played with poise all night long. When it didn't go well early, a couple turnovers early, to me, I was able to look in his eyes and see that there was, no cause for concern, no hesitation. He still had a confident look in his eyes, ready to go out and compete.
All right, well.
That's a pretty telling statement right there.
Yeah.
Looked into his eyes.
Yeah.
Saw confidence. Members of the media get to vote for the American Athletic Conference Championship MVP, and you can do so up to 5 minutes until the end of the game.
Oh, okay.
And certainly in the first half, I would have said I would have voted fairly for Darrell Henderson, the running back, talented running back for Memphis.
Right.
That shifted in the second half.
Yeah.
I cast my vote proudly for Daryl Mack.
Good. Oh, that's cool that you got to vote on that. Awesome. I mean, geez, can you imagine your first home start? Your first. I mean, he had started, the ECU game, but can you imagine the pressure that 18 or 19, maybe 20-year-old kid was feeling?
Multiple pressure. Not only is it a game and a home and a big crowd, obviously a supportive crowd, so better than having to go to Memphis in that same environment. The stakes so high. The UCF players, they can say 1-0 every week, and I believe them. And I think they've bought into Coach Heupel and his coaching staff's philosophy. But they're on social media.
Yeah.
And they know that they've won 25 games in a row, or 24, now 25. They know what's at stake. The difference between a Fiesta Bowl matchup with LSU and, another bowl matchup of a lower caliber bowl. And the emotions. We talked about this a week ago, and I said, would they rise to the occasion, or would simply the weight of everything just bear down on them? And you'd have to just understand that. This was a traumatic injury to someone so pivotal to the team that they all experienced. You saw their faces. You saw them. They're just slumped down around Mackenzie. That's hard.
Did you see the Netflix thing?
I have not watched it.
Oh, man.
I'll be honest with you, I wasn't ready for it. And no, I wasn't. I got a lot out of it.
I'm about to cry just thinking about it.
I got a lot of emotion while we were talking last week. By the way, several people commenting on last week's show about how emotional it was listening to us just talk about it. I couldn't by midweek.
Tears in my eyes thinking about it.
I'll go back because Netflix is tremendous, but
man.
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
I just want to say, and I've said it on Twitter, I've been very vocal about it. These Netflix things are incredible. The video staff that puts those together, that stuff is they should get multiple awards for this stuff. They've already got some awards, I know, for it, but my God, that stuff is some of the best video work that I've ever seen.
Well, it's the video, the editing, the use of music, the storytelling. You tell that story. Of course, there's narration, but
brings tears to my eyes talking about that. Lord have mercy. It's been an emotional couple of weeks, man, or a week.
More than 1 week. More than 1 week. Think of the emotions that went with having game day at UCF.
Yeah.
I mean, for so many people that have gone to UCF through the years, alums that have graduated to see that university grow, I just remember standing out in Memory Mall, taking it all in and thinking, I used to park my car out here in a dirt lot.
What a ride. What a ride.
And I got a little emotional watching that whole pageantry of game day. And I got emotional really just talking to you on Post Game Live. I hadn't taken in what had happened to Mackenzie. I was thinking of it more from a journalistic standpoint, asking questions post-game and all of that. But to be talking to you, that's when it really hit me the impact on him, because I knew he was hurt, but didn't know the gravity of it. And then 1 week later, to stand there and have that confetti rain down and see that team do what it's
Which
done.
I have some right here. You got me some, and I
got you some
greatly
confetti.
appreciate that. When it was going off, I was like, oh, I hope Trace grabs me some of that. I love the confetti. I just think the confetti blowing out of the cannons is the coolest thing. And, it's awesome. I can't wait to see the night flicks from this game. I can't wait till Wednesday to see it. So, just awesome.
That'll bring a smile to your face.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's been a heck of a ride.
And, before we go back to sound clips, the news is positive about McKenzie.
Yeah.
And
he's
back home.
Yep. He was home Friday night. In fact, I made some T-shirts, and I didn't really tell a lot of people this, but I made T-shirts for his entire family and all of his supporters to wear. And they did, and I delivered those T-shirts on Friday to them. I delivered them to a friend of the family because they were, at that time, getting McKenzie into his apartment and getting him settled back in Orlando. So that's awesome.
He's got a long
awesome
road ahead, but he's recovering.
And he's handling it extremely well from what everybody says that I've talked to.
And look at technology. He's FaceTiming with the quarterbacks. He's dialing into the meeting. He prepared a message, not only that we saw in stadium, but also one for the team. And his mother, during the game, brought him into the game, FaceTimed and showed.
And Daryl Mack
had
him on his phone FaceTime after the game as well. So technically, he was able to be there. And I would assume, I'm just going to assume at this point. I haven't talked to anybody about it, but I'm assuming that he should be in good enough shape to get to the Fiesta Bowl, maybe even on the sideline with those guys. So hopefully he's able to do that.
Well, about a month to the game, and
that's a lot of time.
Some published reports indicating surgery might be 4 to 6 weeks off, depending upon how he's recovered from this initial round of surgery. And that, I think we secretly said, boy, I hope he's up in a luxury suite, or I hope he can go down to the field. That it's serious if they don't want him in that environment. And Mrs. Milton said on TV, he wanted to be here. The hospital said, well, he probably could be, but UCF's doctor said, nah, just avoid all of that.
Probably best.
That's a serious surgery. You know this. That's serious surgery he went through. Again, this is not a 2-hour operation where they mended a torn ACL. That sort of operation lies ahead.
Yeah.
What he went through is depleting to your system.
Absolutely, yeah. So, no, it was a big deal. So, that's just awesome that he's home and all that. So, all right, let's continue with these clips. All right, here's one from Daryl Mack about playing for KZ.
Well, I felt like, coming as a team, playing for our guy, he's made terrific plays all year and helped us win a lot of games. So going out there and finishing and winning it for him, it was very big for not only me but the team. And it may not have been said as much, but everybody knew in their back of their head that we was going to go out there and win for 10.
Win for 10.
Yep.
And offensive linemen have been talking about their duty is to protect 10. Now protect number 8. Daryl Mack. On the season, UCF just has given up 14 sacks. Last year, it was 13 sacks. That's a pretty good 2-year run.
Heck yeah.
As I mentioned, I had opportunity to have some one-on-ones. Why don't we hear the first of that from Jordan Johnson, who has contributed to that Stout line play.
Alrighty.
Jordan, congratulations, man. All right, talk about this. What's this feel like?
It feels amazing, man. Not only for back home, Jacksonville, Florida, or my high school, AOI High School, not only for UCF, the wonderful best school in the nation, not only for Mackenzie Milton, not only for his family back in Kapolei, back in Mililani, back in Coralina. The list goes on and on. Not only for my people, my mama, my father, my big brothers, not only for everybody, man. It just feels great to know that we represent, and we just went out there and won it,
Sweeter the second time around?
Definitely, man. Definitely. Man, Memphis gives us a good game every single time, and we know we got to bring our A game if we want to beat them, and that's what we did.
Talk about Daryl Mack. What a performance stepping in under difficult circumstances.
DJ is a baller. That's in him. And nobody can take that away from him. He's a true baller. And no matter what y'all try to do to him, no matter if we have a slow start, no matter if anything happens, he's a baller, and that's what's just gonna surge out of him when it's time to cut it on.
You guys faced some adversity in that first half, some uncharacteristic turnovers. What was the mindset going into the locker room? What was the conversation at halftime?
We knew that we couldn't play like that again. You don't win a game turning the ball over 3+ times. Like, that just doesn't happen. So we knew that if we wanted to win, stop turning the ball over. And we need to get the run game going. We need to get the passing game going. We need to do whatever it takes to win this game, to do it for McKenzie, to do it for our families back home, to do it for everybody. We knew that we had to do whatever it took.
What were your conversations like with him this week? He's remained upbeat during difficult circumstances.
Well, McKenzie or DJ?
Yeah.
No, McKenzie, yeah. I've been talking to him on a regular basis. And he's, like you said, he's upbeat. And it's great to see that he's still in good spirits. And I just talk to my best friend every day, just trying to make sure he's good, making sure that, he's not down in the slumps. I send him a card. I send him a little candy bouquet just to look out for him, man. Let him know that I love him and I care about him. And we wish him for a speedy recovery.
Still a lot of doubters out there. What more does this team have to do? It just keeps winning and winning.
We can only do what we can control, and that's win a football game. And we're going to keep on winning. Whoever they put in front of us, we're going to beat them.
Any doubt that you can beat anybody that you play?
Beat anybody in the nation, and I mean that with 100% sincerity and confidence.
Talk about Night Nation tonight. They turn out strong, and you're wearing one of those flower lays. Could you feel their energy throughout the game?
Man, I could feel it in the beginning, middle, and end. When we were down by 17, I could still feel it. And Night Nation is what brought us back. Once Jake Hescott caught that touchdown in the back of the end zone, like, we all jumped on his head, and Night Nation was right behind us, celebrating with us, and that was the turning point in the game, in my opinion.
What do you say to Night Nation, who cheered you on tonight and all across the country?
Thank you so much. We love you guys. We couldn't do it without you, and go Knights, charge on.
All right. That was awesome. That was really cool.
He got him a candy bouquet.
That's cool.
Don't you love
good.
that?
Yeah, well, he's the
I
one
love that.
He's the one that McKenzie took back to Hawaii over the summer with him. So that's cool. That's very cool. I liked a lot of the stuff that he had to say there, for sure.
Confident.
That was a good one.
Confident.
Yeah. Yep.
He mentioned tight end 6'7", 252, Jake Hescock, 2 catches on the season, including that very important grab for a touchdown.
I expected, before we knew that we had Kulubliali back, I expected to see a lot of Hescock, but now, Kulubliali, filled in
maybe
pretty
not.
good
Maybe
there.
he's got another year. You think we
you
think we can get Kulubliali for
I
another
don't
year?
know about that, but I'm pretty confident having Hescock back there as well, so very, very cool. All right, what's the next one that you want to do? You want to do?
Well, let's talk a little bit about the defense.
Okay.
Try and make sense of all that.
Yeah.
366 yards given up on the ground. That was a record for FBS game in this season. I mean, they got run over by Darrell Henderson and crew in that first half.
Yeah.
This is a pattern, though. We've seen several times throughout the season that the first half is just, whew.
I was calling for Shannon's head on Twitter at one point. I just said, if we can't stop this, you should just turn in your resignation now, which he saw my Twitter message.
You think?
And then that's why he decided to turn it up a little bit.
I should have I took a clip of him celebrating on the field and put that up on our Twitter
at
UCF_Knightline. I should have said for you. Andrew Phegley.
Yeah, well, I don't know. But, they turned it on and they got it done. I mean, I still don't understand, even with what I've learned about them trying things in the middle of the games, different. I still don't understand why it's such a big change from the first half to the second half. It blows my mind.
Well, one of the people I spoke with post-game was A.J. Wooten. Perhaps he can shed a little light on that question.
AJ, congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, talk about this night. What does this feel like?
Oh, man, it's amazing, man. Just going back-to-back champions, that's something that's it's hard to do for any team. And I'm just proud of this team, proud of the teammates, proud of coming back, fighting through adversity after all the things that we've been through. I'm glad that this happened tonight.
You guys had some turnovers in that first half, but was there any doubt that you could mount that comeback?
Oh, no doubt. Just we've been through adversity before. We knew we were going to face some adversity. This is first big start like this, and we knew some things were going to go wrong. Just when that happens, just know that you got to just play our next play, and everything will work out at the end.
Could you have imagined starting out this game and ending with Daryl Mack being the MVP in this game?
It was surprising, but I mean, he worked his tail off for it, and every day in practice, I watch him on the sidelines, and I see he's doing the reps right, he's doing everything right in practice, so he's prepared for this game.
What kind of leader is he?
He is more of a he's like a juicy leader. Like he wants everybody to give like juice, and I like that about him. That's kind of like how I feed off of people. It's like they try to get me hyped up. That's like, okay, let's go. Like that's kind of energy that he brings, and that's what kind of like picks me up too.
Sense any nerves in him?
Oh yeah, in the first half, yeah, but that was expected because big game, So anybody would make those kind of mistakes in the first half. I'm glad he corrected them throughout the whole game.
This has been an interesting week, to say the least. A lot of ups, but some downs. How do you get your team ready for this big a game and this big a spotlight after what happened in Tampa to Mackenzie?
I mean, we understand that Memphis, they're a good ball team, and they have a great running back, and they have a great offensive scheme. And we knew coming in that we had to practice, because that's where games are won, is like in practice. Make sure we practice the correct way, and just knowing that this game was for number 10, Mackenzie, and he has our back, we have his back. So,
how motivating has he been throughout the week leading up to this game?
It's awesome, man, because I didn't know it until about Wednesday. He FaceTimed DJ in the locker room and was coaching him up. So he's a great leader, even when he's in the hospital. So
this is for fans. It's a tough game to watch. You're giving up gobs of yards in the first half. Darrell Henderson, the other running backs. What adjustments at halftime? Why are you guys so strong in the second half of games?
I mean, in the halftime, we just come together and we say, guys, we are shooting ourselves in the foot. It's not really nothing that they're doing. They're making great plays and they're taking advantage of it. But this is on us. We got to fix ourselves. So when we start fixing ourselves, and we stop worrying about everything else, and everything comes to play.
25 straight, back to back. How does it feel?
It feels great. It's hard to do. Hard to do for any team, any FBS team. It's going to be hard to do. So it feels great to have that.
You guys deserve a shot at that playoff?
I don't really know, man. I just want to go 1-0 each week. So whatever happens, happens.
What's it like to have played for Coach Heupel this season?
Coach Heupel, he's a great coach, and I appreciate him coming in and not sticking a fork in the wheel that was turning last year. He just made it go even faster. I'm thankful that he came in. I'm thankful for the coaching staff that he brought in, and it's been great so far.
How important was Knight Nation in this victory?
Oh, man, they are an amazing crowd. It's an amazing fan base that we have, and every big play that we have, I hear them roaring. And their energy gives us energy, and it's a great feeling out here.
What's next for you guys? A bowl? Do you care who you play? Do you care where?
Not really, man. Just 1-0 each week. Whoever we play is going to get our best shot.
All right. Anybody, anytime, anywhere. I love it. Love it.
I like how he described Darrell. Juicy.
Yeah. Juicy. I like it.
It's good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, thank you for doing that. That was very smart of you to skip the press conference and go get those guys. That was good stuff, man. You're good.
Go nowhere. We have more. Want to shout out to Daniel on Facebook who wrote to us. Love Knightline and what you guys do. Can't say it enough. Well, of course you can. You can say it again and again.
More and more and more.
Again. Next, Knightline exclusives with Brendan Hayes and Nate Evans from Deltona to Dallas and everywhere in between. Knightline, your source for the best UCF conversation, continues in just a moment.
Hey, this is Travis Dever, Kai's Real Estate, the Dever team, New Smyrna Beach. Your source for real estate and everything else New Smyrna Beach. Proud sponsor of Knightline and Knightline Postgame Live. Call me anytime at 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636. Let me show you my hometown, New Smyrna Beach, UCF's favorite beach. Go Knights and charge on.
All right, get back to the clips a little bit here. I've only got a couple more, but I want to play these. There's been a lot of talk about the adversity that this team has gone through during the year, and especially in the last few weeks here, with having to play on the giant stage of having game day here, and then the McKenzie injury, and then having to do this week, and now, a bit more of going to a big bowl game and playing a team that you're not familiar with, and, a team that probably wants to be the one. All these teams have wanted to be the one to knock you off. So this is what, there's a few clips here. I'm going to put them all together. It's going to be Greg McCrae, and then Richie Grant, and then Titus Davis, all on the adversity of the season.
I think we've, faced adversity a lot this year, and not even just this year, for years, before. And it's just a great group of guys around in the locker room. And, when it comes down to it, we all play for each other. And, I kept telling Titus on the sideline, I was going to give him everything I got. And he said the same thing to me, and at the end of the day, we came back and got the victory. So that's the type of, team leaders and players we have on this team, where we sell out for each other.
We've been playing for each other for 11 months. Since the new staff got in here, they've been putting us in adverse situations and seeing how we handle it. And it didn't start off well, but you see the outcome of that. We've been doing really good. We playing for each other, man. And like they've been saying, the bond we have on this team is real and it's unexplainable.
Just starting off this year with new coaches, just buying into the way they run things and their scheme and just how things go with them. I think our guys they did it well, and that transition was really great. So for us as players and as leaders of the team, we had to buy in first. They started with us, so just doing that from the get-go, trusting in Coach Heupel and his whole staff, and here, look where it got us. It got us to the top. So
I like that. Hey, look where it got us. Got us to the top. So everybody did a wonderful job this year with everything that happened in the middle, or at the end or whatever.
We're going to soon be able to do two things. We're going to revisit our picks. Remember, we picked who would be Rookie of the Year, and we made some of those projections. We were off, thankfully, on that perfection.
Yeah.
You had what? One loss.
One loss, and it was Memphis. You had two.
Memphis and Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then
I'm glad to be wrong though about that. Anytime that I can be wrong about losing a game, I'm wrong.
That's
right. And I love being wrong about that. So
probably wait until January, but we'll have the second go round of the Nightliner Awards.
Yeah.
In the various categories.
That'll
probably
be cool.
open that up after the bowl and
open
that up to nominees in the various
We're gonna
categories.
have a little bit of a long winter and all that stuff to go. We got lots of time to talk about all kinds of stuff until football starts again.
Football never stops.
Oh, man.
Football never stops.
I wait till, and I want to get to the end of the season so bad, to see how it all goes together, to see the finished product. And then I kick myself for, wishing for the end. You know what I'm saying? Because then I want the beginning again, so I'm bad about that.
Well, I posted on Twitter in a battle of 12-0 teams who wins your 2017 Knights or your 2018 Knights. Now, early on, 2018 was faring pretty well. Then it shifted considerably. 2017 has been pretty dominant the last couple of weeks. What's your guess on the outcome of this unscientific Twitter poll?
I have no idea.
2018 Knights, 58% of the vote. So people rallied around the 2018 Knights.
Really?
Yeah.
So 2018 won.
Yeah,
oh,
this
good.
week.
Good.
This week.
Good.
Yeah. It has been several weeks since that has been the case.
Right. But I think that this 2018 team just had to have a little bit more because of the adversity. They had to have a little bit more grit to them. It wasn't as flashy and as, it was just a little bit more of a grit, I guess, I think.
A friend of mine messaged me, and he said the more he thinks on it, he feels that 2018 is more impressive than the 2017 season because of the high expectations, the complete changeover in a coaching staff. If we go back and talk, think about that. We talked about, what will it be like with a Coach Heupel? How will the players come together? And Remember during the summer, all the position groups, Coach Heupel having barbecues and pool parties and all of that.
I think that's
to
a
bind
regular
the team
thing
together.
Yeah, I think that's a regular thing.
If we had said you'll lose your Heisman contending starting quarterback in your rivalry game on the road, you won't have him in the championship game. What do you think the outcome of one or both of those games are? If we talk about that going in, you probably think, Yeah. I mean, I had faith in Darryl Mack and the team. I thought the sum of the team would make up for any mistakes, and that certainly proved to be the case. Some jitters and some unexpected turnovers. They had only fumbled the ball 3 times going into that game.
Yeah,
on Saturday.
Well, I go back and I think about McKenzie's first start. Remember how many times he fumbled the ball and threw interceptions?
Like 5 times
it was like
in that
6
Maryland
times.
game.
Yeah. So, you can go from doing, playing pretty bad to playing really, really good. And I think Mackenzie's mom said something about the Cure Bowl. She was wearing a lei from the Cure Bowl and thought about how Mackenzie started playing back then. He got booed off the field basically during that game, and came back and did such amazing things the next year. So it's awesome.
In this game, we know what Memphis did in that first half. 366 rushing yards. They ended up with 583. UCF was 698 in that game, by the way.
Yep.
And if it wasn't for kneeing the ball down the stretch there, it would have been up over 700. They lost a couple of yards on kneeing the ball. I would say, though, going into this bowl matchup, and we have several weeks before that, so we'll have more opportunity to talk to LSU Insider and really get to understand that team. It's, I know of LSU's name, and they're exciting, and I watched the tail end of that 7 overtime game, and, UCF will have its hands full, just as we thought they might with Auburn, and it'll be a tough matchup. But I guess even at 12-0, concerns and questions still reside in terms of the defensive side of the ball.
Absolutely.
You can't, you might be able to overcome Memphis at home, but how do you overcome what LSU can do to you with speed and such? In the defense, I don't know. I would say
the higher ranked team.
I know. I'd say you can't play like they did
in
the first half.
They're not undefeated.
They've lost 3 times. Yeah. Another one of the one-on-ones is with Brendan Hayes, and we talk about the defense in that conversation as well.
Congratulations, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. How you feeling?
Indescribable feelings, really special to this team because we obviously lost somebody last Friday, and we got to make it up to him today. So,
how important was he as a motivating factor for you guys this week?
To be honest, I feel like he's always a motivating factor to us. He's the captain of the team, and he's just been a great leader since he's been here. So to say he's just a great motivating factor this week is an understatement. He's a great motivating factor every week, and I feel like that's how we played in the second half of the game.
You guys a little sick of seeing Memphis?
I don't want to say we're sick of seeing them. It's always great competition when we play them. It's just we just got to come out fast against them next time, I guess. So I believe the first time we played them, we gave up, I think, 300 yards, and we did the same thing this week in the first half. So we just got to, next time we see them guys, just got to execute and play better first half.
What's the difference between that first half and that second half play?
I don't know how it ends up like this, but every second half every halftime we always end up making the correct adjustments and come level-headed and end up making tackles, making plays on the ball, and I think that's what was the difference between the first and second half.
What did you see in Darryl Mack as a leader?
Honestly, I've seen what we've seen all week in practice. We played ECU game. He was the same way that whole week, and he just stepped up again this week. It was nothing to him. He did it like clockwork. So I tip my hat to him. He's a great player.
What do you say to all these doubters? It's now back-to-back. It's perfect regular seasons, back-to-back conference titles, 25-0.
I mean, I really don't think there's nothing you can say to him. Look at the record. I mean, we play our heart out every time we step on the field. That's all that matters to us.
You care who you play next or where?
Not at all. We're just going to line up the ball and play.
That's the deal.
All right. Well, again, another one of them said it doesn't matter who we play. I love that. I love it.
Confident. Knights get an interception towards the end of the game. Wondered if they were going to break through with a turnover. Forced at least one turnover in all 11 games. And, oh, by the way, the last 30.
I know, yeah. I was thinking about that streak as well. And I just kept saying, all right, this is it. And finally we got it. I was hoping that he wasn't out of bounds when he intercepted that ball back there in the end zone. So that was awesome. Glad that we keep that streak alive. I like that streak a lot. That shows a lot of toughness.
It's a big reason why you're 25 for 25.
Yeah,
big
time.
And we're well over 700 and some odd days. We're going to surpass the 2-year mark. UCF's last loss, you mentioned it earlier in terms of the Cure Bowl, was the Cure Bowl in Orlando.
2016.
We're going to be at least to January 1, 2019.
Yeah, that's
when
good.
UCF plays its
That's
next
awesome.
game. You know, one of the benefits, by the way, before we get to that final interview, UCF gets extra practices now, up to 15 practices, and they have a full month until the bowl experience. But you know what comes before that? The bowl is the early signing period for recruiting. I mentioned earlier, Coach Heupel out recruiting, the very next day after the American Athletic Conference Championship game. So that comes fast, and he didn't get the full benefit. He came on board, and then the recruiting period was just a couple of days later.
I'm looking for some pretty exciting people in this recruiting class, but we'll have a lot more about that later.
Yeah. Final one-on-one with Nate Evans, and we talk about some of the similar themes in this interview situation. I'm standing there, and I appreciate UCF Athletics for bringing folks out, but I have no idea who's coming out of that door.
Yeah,
that's
cool.
So some of the questions may sound the same. I don't know who's coming out, and so it's just just
cool.
spur of the moment. But let's hear from Nate Evans.
What's this feeling like?
I mean, it's unbelievable. Going back to back, doing it without McKenzie, was tough, but you see how we came out. We played hard for him, man, and it's just, I can't even describe the words. It's just, exciting, so that's all I can say. That's all I can say.
Go back to Coach Heupel come in, and he's talking 1-0 every week. You guys bought in, and you've done just that.
Yes, sir. I mean, we buy into, what the coaches tell us, even though they had this new coaching staff. I've been playing with these guys for 3 years, some of these guys, and man, like I told them on the sideline, when you play with love and, not hate, not fussing at each other, when you play with love and knowing that we're going to do what we got to do, we're going to get the job done, man, nobody can stop us, so.
How important was it that Knight Nation rallied behind this Ohana concept and that we're all one family? Could you feed off of that all week and during this game?
Oh, yeah, so that's real important, just to have the Knights fans come in and buy into, the Ohana and stuff like that, man. That's just a boost for us as a whole team. That just gives us another level of just wanting to go get it, you know what I'm saying? So thank you, Knight Nation.
Certainly you guys faced some adversity in this game, some of your own making. Turnovers can be a great equalizer. What was the turning point for this team and getting past that rough start?
I mean, the turning point was just us coming out and saying we need to stop playing like on defense. We need to stop playing soft, and we just need to go get it. We just need to get greedy. And I wouldn't even say second half we made the adjustments. We just, like I said, we just had that mindset, that switch, and we switched it to, grind mode, and let's go get this, and we got it done.
What are coaches saying when you start to get behind like this? What's the rallying point? What's the motivator?
I mean, the coaches, all they tell us, is just to stay positive, stay focused. Don't get mad and upset with each other and be fussing and fighting on the sideline, because that's when bad stuff happens. Like I said, you play with love and trust, you can't be stopped, and we did that, and we got this dub.
Nearly 700 yards of offense. What's that like to watch? And under a freshman quarterback leading the team.
Exactly. I mean, just amazing, man. I'm happy we got this win. Happy for D-Mac. Shout out to Memphis. They put up a good fight. That's a real good team. They have a lot of schemes, stuff like that. Real physical team. So it was just a good day for UCF all out.
And in the back of your mind, KZ there?
Of course. KZ is always, even though he wasn't here physically, he was there in spirit. You know what I'm saying? We got everybody wearing Halehis, if I'm not mistaken. We got the 10 going, the Ohana, you know what I'm saying? So he was definitely there in spirit if he wasn't there physically.
Knight Nation packed the house tonight, and so many of them wearing the Hawaiian shirts, the flower lays. You could really feel family through the crowd and throughout the game.
Exactly. When you get that feeling, and you could just see that how everybody is behind us and behind McKenzie and just want us to win, and they're just excited on that sideline and making all that noise, man. We just get goosebumps, you know what I'm saying? So just thank everybody, we just got this dub. I'm just excited.
Still some doubters out there. What do you say to those doubters? This is a team that's gone back-to-back perfect, 25 straight wins. You know all those stats. While it's 1-0 every week, at a certain point, haven't you guys earned a shot at a playoff?
I mean, all I can control what I can control, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, we as a UCF football team, we going to play with love and we going to play together. So we just going to keep doing our thing. And whatever the other people want to decide to do, that's on them. You know what I'm saying? We'll let whoever else take care of that. But we just going to keep playing together, keep playing with each other, and keep loving one another.
And celebrate. How sweet is this? How are you going to celebrate?
I mean, I'm not a go-out person. I mean, my family said we're going to get some food, definitely talk about the game. And just tonight, I might rewatch the game, just look at some of the mistakes that we made, plays that could have been made and stuff like that. And just relax. We got these 2 days off, and that's it.
All right, Trace, great job getting those interviews, man. Really appreciate it.
It is good stuff, and they stay on message pretty well, but they believe in one another. They believe in this team, and, very proud of them. I posted on Twitter and
sounds like they like their coaches, too. So.
I was proud of Mac's performance no matter what the outcome of that game was. When it maybe seemed in doubt, down 17 a couple of times, I thought he really showed class and himself well on the field, and win or lose, and at some point they're bound to lose, right?
I guess. I mean, maybe. You never know.
We said that early on in the season. Incredibly proud of these players for all that they've gone through. You rattled off some of them. You didn't even mention that they had another game thrown out because of a hurricane.
It's true.
I mean, while that wasn't as impactful as the one a year ago in Florida, it is disruptive to them from a preparation standpoint and all of that. So. Just an incredible group of players we've been fortunate to watch in the stands and on TV and home and away.
We're going to miss
for
a lot of
2
these
seasons.
So a lot of seniors we're going to miss.
I imagine we might talk about that. In the off season, what the position battles will look like, and who replaces who, and we've seen
lots of that.
New players emerge, though. None more
a new kicker,
noteworthy than Greg
punter,
McRae.
A couple offensive linemen. Oh, boy.
Let's not start talking about that just yet. But I continue to be impressed, as you talk about it every week, with Athletic Director Danny White. How many athletic directors do you know the name of? And, he's certainly put himself out there. I don't know that a win over LSU, he'll look into the camera and say national champs again. I don't think he'll put that out. But he has messaged this well. We're well into December. You see the salty fans from across the country, the haters. You see the talking heads, notably the ESPN people, sticking to their talking points. I mean, listen, I get home from that game Saturday night, and they're defending Georgia's 2 losses as they should be part of the Final Four. And they were all on message, all the ESPN people. So that Danny White has stayed consistent in positioning UCF is great credit to him and reflects well on UCF athletics.
Yeah, and I think that Danny White's got something up his sleeve for I think he's got something up his sleeve to go after this committee somehow, just personally. Here is what he had to say post the game the other night, post the American Championship.
Obviously, I want the focus of this evening to be on the student athletes and coaches that were just here. But there has been a national conversation going on for the last 11 months since we won the Peach Bowl and claimed the national championship last year. I don't feel, and I've been pretty vocal about this, that a 4-team playoff is adequate for the postseason of college football. I think last year's team showed that. Our football team, our student athletes, have now won 25 straight games. They deserve to be in this playoff, and I hope that's the decision that's made tomorrow. If that does not occur, then I think that's yet another pretty glaring example that a 4-team playoff is not adequate for the postseason of college football.
I love it. I love that guy.
Definitive Sunday on Twitter after the announcement was made of the Final Four in the beauty contest. Danny White posted on Twitter, quote, "It's not a playoff, it's an invitational. I'm excited to see what invitational we get to be a part of and once again show what our team is capable of. On the field, all capitals, exclamation point. Proud of our team. Can't wait to go bowling with Knight Nation."
Well, it's good. Yeah, I mean, I guess the bowl games are invitational too. I mean, because we have to be invited to one of the bowl games, so I guess that's what he was talking about. But I just want to see him take this to the next step, whatever that may be, whether it's an antitrust lawsuit or whatever, because it's hurting us. It's hurting us. So
Well, this group of players over 2 seasons, and no knock in the Peach Bowl or the Fiesta Bowl, but not had an opportunity to be on even larger stage is just a flaw in a process. And but, he has led the charge and others have been vocal. There are entrenched interests that just don't want it to be. And you look at the makeup of that playoff cartel, and you have sitting athletic directors, Ohio State's, the University of Florida's. They say they recuse themselves.
Yeah.
I don't believe that.
Who's watching these guys, though? Who's in charge of making sure that they recuse themselves from this?
It's an honor system, don't you know?
Well, there's not a lot of honor, though.
So do you think athletic director for the University of Florida had no sway in the matchup between Florida and Michigan?
Of course he did. That's why it's a cartel. That's why we call it a cartel, because it's nothing but, they might as well be dealing drugs.
That game would have been sizzling in terms of interest. A battle for the state of Florida. UCF brought 30 to 35,000 fans to the Peach Bowl a year ago. They filled hotels. They went out. They supported the restaurants, the bars, the tourist attractions. Florida fans would have turned out as well. They don't want to be shown up by UCF.
And they would have been. They absolutely would have been.
They ship UCF and its young fan base out to Arizona, a very expensive destination. And, as many fans that will be there. Allotment, I'm not sure what that number will be, 7,500, 10,000. Maybe UCF will come close to that.
That's why we would never get into the SEC, because of Florida as well. So, I just, things are so corrupt in the college football world. I just wish somehow somebody would get a handle on it. There's a lot of corruptness going on in all kinds of things, but college football is one of the most glaring things.
And what's a shame about it is it's such a wonderful sport. You mentioned it earlier. You look forward to it, and you want to see the season play out. And then as soon as it ends, you're going to say the first show, oh, my goodness, we have so many months until football. And I'll calm you down, and I'll say spring ball is right around the corner. And but what a terrible system to determine a champion.
Yeah, and
it's not decided on the field.
It hurts the kids that are playing the game, too. It's not only the fans and the universities and all that and recruiting. It hurts the kids that are playing the game because, there's players on our team that are not going to be able to get on the national stage as far as the other guys getting on the national stage for getting their jobs in the NFL later on.
Well, I mentioned it on our Twitter at UCF_Knightline. I'm not watching those Final Four teams. I don't care. I'm not going to watch it. I'll know the outcome, and I'm just not going to support it this year.
Yeah.
I'll support UCF and watch them, but I'm not going to watch the Cartel's Final Four. So, shout out to @UCF Martin, who sends us love. Quote, amazing. Everyone should be listening to the award-winning Knightline Sports Network. We don't pay these folks. This is just unprompted.
I would if they needed to be paid. But.
Thank you, Martin. Next, we are talking with a guy who helps us to be amazing. The best coverage of UCF football continues. Knightline with former UCF quarterback Kyle Israel joins us to discuss the Knights' win over the Tigers. Spice up your company with homemade marketing services from Tasty Gravy Creative. Tasty Gravy serves up a menu of budget-friendly marketing, graphic design, and public relations services customized to your specific goals. Co-owned by a UCF graduate, Tasty Gravy can help refresh your brand, strengthen your online presence, or reinforce your company's message. Contact Tasty Gravy for help with your website, social media, marketing, advertising materials, and more. Visit tastygravy.com.
Welcome to Inside the Huddle with former UCF quarterback Kyle Israel, brought to you by the Little Greek Fresh Grill. Fresh, flavorful, fabulous. Waterford Lakes, 855 North Althea Trail, Orlando.
UCF and Memphis, another classic. Let's talk about it with former UCF quarterback Kyle Israel, who's inside the huddle and on the Knightline hotline. Kyle, in life, all of us have had opportunities on a big stage. Some stumble, some thrive. Daryl Mack, boy, he really stepped up and thrived.
He did, Trace, and he did it in a big way, in a big-time environment when we really, really needed him to. There really wasn't anybody else in the stadium yesterday that I think was going to be able to help us win the game. It was all on his shoulders. I think he understood that going in there with the depth of quarterback. So he thrived in it. Like you said, he, really seemed like he played better when they went up 14-0, almost at that point. The weight is kind of lifted off your shoulders. You're just trying to go out there and score. So I thought he was phenomenal. I'm very happy for him, very proud for him. He deserves a lot of credit. And, it makes you a little bit more comfortable being a Knights fan about what's ahead for us at the quarterback position over the next couple of seasons.
Oh, yeah, he had some gaudy numbers, too. Excuse me, my voice is a little shot from yesterday. I was screaming my head off with everybody else. But Darrell Mack, 348 yards, 19 of 27, 2 touchdowns, longest was 54. And then, again, on the ground, 18 rushes for 72 yards and 4 touchdowns. I mean, those are gaudy numbers for a guy playing his second game in college football.
Big boy numbers. Yeah, big boy numbers, without a doubt. I mean, it's staggering almost to see that stat line. I think, obviously, there's great things to take from this game. He had some ball security issues in the first half. One of those fumbles wasn't his fault. It was part of the pass rush. But, you'd like to see him take care of the ball a little bit more. But gosh, I mean, just considering the magnitude of that game and what was riding on it, an ABC game at 3:30 in the afternoon. I mean, that's a lot of pressure, and he handled it so very well, and so did this entire football team, especially down 17 points 3 separate times during the game.
Once again, a tale of two halves for the defense. We know how many yards rushing they gave up in that first half, 38 points, and then they clamped down in the second half. Have you ever seen anything like this where they flip the switch quite like they do?
No, I haven't. I mean, to see offenses just almost just completely stop. I mean, just look completely different from the first half and the second half. Is crazy. The way that our defense is able to make adjustments. I mean, for Darrell Henderson to only have 3 yards rushing in the second half after just running all over the field on us in the first, it's just staggering. I think you got to give credit to Coach Shannon making the adjustments at halftime. I think it helps sometimes that he can go down there and talk to the players face to face. And then the defensive backfield in the front seven, they tackled better and they got to the ball. I think that we were misaligned a little bit in the first half, which made some of those runs just like glaringly bad. But it almost saved us in a few ways that Memphis was able to score that fast and not chew up a ton of clock, because we needed all the clock that we could get in this football game, especially being down 17.
What does what was accomplished this year say about the coaching staff and especially Coach Heupel?
Well, it's we're very lucky to have 2 back-to-back coaches of this caliber here. And I think it says a ton about Coach Heupel, his entire staff, our administration. To take over a football team that's been extremely successful and undefeated the year prior, and to do that again with the type of adversity we've had with Mackenzie going down multiple times during the season, playing versus ECU, with some distractions naturally that happened throughout the course of the season with different players, and with the level of our opponent in regards to a team like Memphis, who we had to play twice now, and Mike Norvell had coached against us 4 times in 2 years, and Coach Heupel hadn't coached against him at all. That was a great coaching matchup and coaching battle. I mean, yesterday you could see Memphis running the Wildcat. There was a lot of great coaching going on yesterday, and I just think that our staff deserves a ton of credit for being able to get everybody and keep everybody on the same page. And I love that he did give players some ownership at the beginning of the year and keeping some things the ways that they wanted it that had been established by Coach Frost. And I think that blend of what he brought in and what the players wanted to keep, kind of caught lightning in a bottle. We've done it 2 years in a row now.
One of my favorite parts of yesterday was Heupel walking back off of the field from going and talking to players during a timeout and prompting the crowd, raising his arms like, come on, come on. That was absolutely awesome. Where were you at when that happened? Were you on the sideline, and what did you think of that?
At that point, I think in the second quarter, I spent in the stands. In the third quarter, I spent in the stands. First and fourth, I spent on the field. You still feel like you don't know Coach Heupel a ton. He hasn't been here a full year yet. He gives a lot of what you would consider maybe coach speak answers, very intelligent ones, when he's being interviewed. So you're always kind of wondering, like, what type of personality did this guy have? And where is that competitive spirit? I want to see that. And yesterday you saw it. And it was exciting to see him get the crowd fired up. And he knows all too well what it's like to be in championship games. And so I'm sure he was pumped up. And so I think that was an endearing moment for Coach Heupel with our fan base.
We began this season with a Heisman contender in Mackenzie Milton and a lot of depth at running back, Adrian Killens, Otis Anderson. And in this championship game, the big stars, the big names are Darryl Mack and Greg McCray, 24 carries, 206 yards. The future continues to look bright for the Knights.
I think if you're trying to look at the body of health, how healthy is our program, that fact is a big one to point to. With Greg McCray, there's running backs on this roster that don't even see the field yet that some believe may be more talented than the ones that are currently playing the significant amount of reps. But Greg McCray to go for 200 yards again, obviously he would have liked to score on some of those touchdowns, and his stat line from a touchdown perspective would have been closer to probably 3, maybe even 4 touchdowns. He's just phenomenal. He's hard to tackle. He's got enough speed to run away from you, and he makes cuts at full speed. And that is very, very hard to contain. And so I think that it just shows you we're a very healthy program in some of our most crucial positions. I think we're naturally going to have to replace some guys next season up front on both sides of the football. But at the skill position and most importantly at the quarterback position, if he can continue to improve, and you would assume that he can and will, we may have a very solid quarterback situation for the next 3 more years.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, actually. We talked about it last week a little bit, that UCF needed to get on it and start looking for the next guy. I personally think we have the guy right there. I mean, I did not expect that. I mean, I did and I didn't. I had pure faith in Darryl Mack. And I know what he had done previously in high school. I'd watched that tape like you would not believe. I've watched it many, many times. And I kept telling everybody he's gonna do it. He's gonna do it. And I said that, but I wasn't 100% sure when I was saying that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was predicting it, but being careful as well predicting that. But he just did it. And it was incredible. And I don't think that we need to have any urgency of going and getting a quarterback to replace Milton if he can't play next year. I think we have it.
He can definitely throw the deep ball. I think he took advantage of one-on-one matchups last night, which were crucial. He also took advantage of some breakdowns in Memphis's zone coverage with that touchdown to Otis Anderson, which is a huge touchdown there at the beginning of the second half. Mack was timely. I mean, going on for 35 points, just rip off 35 points in the second half of that football game. It was just a dominant performance for the entire team. There's been rumors people are talking about, in different places, in different chat rooms about looking for a transfer quarterback and somebody that has eligibility right away, maybe a graduate transfer. And I think that UCF is an attractive place, and you would think that most quarterbacks who are at elite level could have started at a big-time school. Some are going to be afraid of competition and some aren't. If we have a guy that transfers in here and we can fill some more depth, we obviously have Quadri Jones, and many people are very high on him. He's more of a McKenzie-style quarterback than he is a DJ Mack style. But I'd like to add depth to that room but I feel much more secure about our ability to compete and win football games with Mac at quarterback. But there was still, he still has a lot of improvement that can be made. But I'm not going to say anything negative about a guy when he goes and accounts for 6 touchdowns on arguably the biggest stage of his life.
And the numbers that he put up were very comparable, almost even more than some that McKenzie had put up. So I'll be interested more in down the stretch of next season when teams are truly preparing for DJ and they've seen a little bit more film on him. I'd be interested to see how he adjusts, because McKenzie has had the entire bag of tricks thrown at him over the last 2 seasons with people trying to figure out ways to stop him. And he's been so gifted at not allowing that to happen. And so as DJ gets more film out there and people see what he does, I'll be interested to see how his progression goes. But, I mean, to have a day, kid, you just did what many people didn't know you were capable of. And there's part of me, as a competitor, you always wonder, I'm sure he was laid in bed Friday night saying, it would be a dream if I threw for 350 yards and accounted for 6 touchdowns. Like, I can't imagine that happening. And so I think that's the level of experience that we're talking about with what that game meant to him, certainly, and what it meant to our fan base, to McKenzie, just to everybody, to be down 17 points 3 times and to really a crowd to not feel like they were ever out of it, a sideline, and a quarterback. It takes everything falling into place and being on the same page to come back and win football games when you're down like that. Absolutely. And I'm not taking anything away from McKenzie, obviously, when I'm saying that. But Darryl Mack really showed up. And, it feels pretty good to have another guy that can do that kind of stuff. The other thing is, the one thing that I would criticize him on a little bit was that I felt like he was staring down his receivers, like, extremely. And that can get you into trouble later on, for sure. So
it can. Sometimes you got to, in these offenses, lots of the fields are eliminated prior to the snap. And so a guy's head, although from the helmet, it maybe look like he's staring somebody down. You never actually know, especially in these offenses. But yes, you can tell he's trying to find his guy, and that's okay, especially if we got man-to-man coverage, which Memphis went to later on in that football game.
Week in and week out, we have talked about the challenge of the winning streak. 13 games, 15, 18, now 25. And the news Sunday that the College Football Playoff Invitational, as expected, snubbed UCF. What are the emotions that you feel as an alum, as a former player, when you see UCF's body of work disregarded and disrespected in the fashion in which it has been?
I feel helpless. I feel like I want to do something about it. And unfortunately, the only thing that you can really do is through social media, and that's just not my style. To go out and bash a committee, but it's just frustrating. It's helpless. I mean, for Michigan to be there at number 7 is driving me insane. I can't get over the fact that some of these 2 and 3 loss teams, I mean, we're having to deal with and be compared to, and many teams think they're the same. There's got to be a solution. There has to be, because this has so many effects. I don't know if it could have so many effects, obviously, in recruiting. It's frustrating to go 2 seasons and not be able to get in. You want to pull your hair out over it. And I don't understand for the life of me how they truly choose the teams that they're putting into the playoff. I do not understand what they are considering. But it's not good for college football, in my opinion, to have the same 2 or 3 teams in it every year. And there becomes a cycle of recruiting where these programs are because of the exposure of the college football playoff and because of the number of people that are watching it, they are getting help with recruits that simply the rest of college football is not receiving, in my opinion, and it becomes a cycle. I had a cousin who played at Clemson in the last 4 years. He would tell me, gosh, we're getting some serious recruits that would have never considered Clemson in the past because of our success in the college football playoff. And if those teams continue to stay right there, it's just not good for college football. I think you need to go to 8 teams. I think you need to get some more diversity, inside the playoff. It is what it is right now. We do not have the best strength of schedule in college football, nor are we close to it. That hurts us. There's no doubt about that, and I don't like to argue the strength of schedule, but you feel helpless as a UCF fan. And I truly hurt for the players on our football team to go and win 25 straight games and not be able to play for a championship that they deserve to be able to at least have the opportunity to play for.
News also Sunday, UCF will return to the Fiesta Bowl. This time the matchup with LSU. LSU 9-3. They finished third in the SEC West, fresh off a 74-72 7-overtime loss to Texas A&M. We'll have some weeks to delve in and study LSU a little bit more, but what do you think of the matchup as it is announced?
Well, I do think it's a tough matchup. LSU's got a good defense. I mean, they got big boys. We're going to see the best athletes in the country. I think it's frustrating. The Fiesta Bowl. I don't want to. 3 years ago, guys, we would have done anything to go to the Fiesta Bowl. So I try to remember that when I'm saying these things. But it's frustrating from a fan's perspective. I mean, you're thinking $3,500, $5,000 for families to get out to Arizona. Flights are already ridiculous. So it's frustrating going out and playing in that bowl game. I think it's a slap in the face that Florida and Michigan are playing in the Peach Bowl. But a matchup with LSU, I think it's a favorable matchup for UCF. I'm not sure, obviously when you have that many overtimes, you can score a ton of points. But I think UCF will have the advantage when it comes to the offense, and I think that LSU certainly has the advantage when it comes to defense. And so it'll be a good matchup at Orgeron. I'm not sure that his job is extremely secure, and so I'm confident that he'll want to go out there and win that football game, and it's going to be a great matchup. It truly is. It's going to be if we can get a win over LSU, to have Auburn and LSU kind of on our on our roster of having beat them in the last 2 seasons, that would be very nice to hang your hat on.
UCF is established as about a touchdown underdog in early lines, and news Sunday that LSU's very talented cornerback Greedy Williams announces his intention to go to the 2019 NFL Draft, going to forego 2 years of eligibility. You can almost see the talking points starting to begin that maybe LSU isn't all that interested, or their players may not be that interested. This is still a tough matchup for UCF. LSU is very talented.
They're very talented. It's again, when it comes on game day, those guys are going to come out and play. But do they prepare the same way? Do they study and invest the time into watching film like if they were playing in the semifinal? Probably not. So there's a natural little less attention to detail. But, I mean, when you get in the environment as a competitor, I think the players are going to come play when the lights are on. But, yeah, there's people. We're the higher-ranked team, so they can say whatever they want. They got to come in and beat us. Excuses, I'm not even going to go there because I just don't think it's valid. People can say whatever they want. If LSU gets out of there with a win, we're not going to make any excuses. And I don't think they should either.
All right. Well, we've got a lot of time to talk about this coming up here in the next few weeks, getting ready for this game. What a time to be a Knight. Unbelievable ranges of emotion over the last couple of weeks. But they definitely, they did it. They played for Mackenzie and for themselves, and they did incredible stuff yesterday. One of the very best football games I've ever seen.
Our fan base was phenomenal. Our fan base staying through that game, being loud. I mean, our entire fan base deserves a pat on the back just for the support that we've showed every week, home or away, and just for the excitement. It's hard not to get excited about a team that's won 25 games in a row, but our fan base has showed up and really taken advantage of this momentum, and the core 12 to 15,000 fans that we had, I would say, for the last 20 years, I'm confident that core is growing and growing rapidly, and should make UCF football for years to come a very exciting environment with really good players in a great venue on a phenomenal campus. It doesn't get much better for football fans than what UCF has to offer right now. Absolutely.
All right. Well, I know you're going to be busy in the next couple of weeks. What's going on at the Little Greek?
So we're about to open our Lee Vista location over by Epic Theaters. We're obviously pushed up against the wall with Christmas, which could present challenges with staffing, among other things. But Windermere is going really good, and really looking forward to the Lee Vista location. And then we'll be going into next to Sprouts on Loma and Lakemont in Winter Park in a few months as well.
Awesome. That'll be cool. Good location there.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thank you very much. We will talk to you soon.
Okay. Enjoy your holidays, guys, and we'll talk over the coming weeks. And looking forward to UC Fiesta.
All right, Knights in the NFL, not a lot going on this week for our guys. Murray, 4 carries for 11 yards in Minnesota. Perryman, 2 catches for 26 yards. Akins, 1 catch for 13 yards. And then Traquan was here last night for the game.
Because the Saints played Thursday.
Yeah.
He'd been a little gimpy. He didn't play Thursday.
Yeah.
He was pretty happy, though. Saw him coming out of the locker room.
It was cool that he was here, and then you'll see when you watch Nightflix, he's in that as well. So.
Oh, the sad one from...
Yeah.
Oh, no, I can't do it. Yeah. Not ready yet. Back-to-back SEC games for men's basketball ahead. Our insider Ben Stout has the deep dive plus volleyball one and done. Knightline. Check us out at knightlinesports.com for all your stocking stuffers.
You've heard us talk about the great food at our good friend Kyle Israel's restaurant, The Little Greek Fresh Grill. The Little Greek now has franchises available. Please call 407-697-2272. That's 407-697-2272 to see what The Little Greek can do for you. Also, check out The Little Greek's newest location at 6536 Old Brick Road in Windermere, Florida. The Little Greek Fresh Grill. Fresh, flavorful, fabulous. This segment is brought to you by Scouted, the app where athletes of all ages get exposed, discovered, and recruited. Download for free on the Apple Store or Google Play and get discovered today. All right, while Alabama won't play UCF in football, the Tide are more than willing to roll over on the court. Thursday, UCF beat Alabama 70-64. Sunday, UCF led Mizzou 27-21 at the half, back and forth throughout the second half. Tied at the end of regulation, but the Knights fall 64-62 in overtime. What a heartbreaker. I watched it.
You watched the end there. Yeah. They're up by 3 with less than 3 seconds to go, and they Mizzou sinks a 3 to send it into overtime. It was.
I hate Mizzou so much, and if you're a listener from a long time ago, you know why. I played at Kansas. Mizzou is our arch rival, so I hate them even more than the Cows. I hate Mizzou, so I was just
even more.
Yeah, I was just waiting for our Knights to come back in that one after the it was so close, and just it's kind of a sad day in basketball.
It's over.
No, I don't think it's over.
Oh, that was me after the Florida Atlantic loss.
It's still not over. We got a lot of basketball left to play.
Well, let's hear from our insider, former UCF men's basketball player Ben Stout, who has more Inside the Paint.
Hey, Andrew and Trace. This is Ben Stout calling in to share my thoughts on this week in UCF basketball. Well, we went 1-1 this week against 2 SEC opponents, winning against Alabama at home on Thursday night, and then we dropped a heartbreaker today at Missouri. So while we continue to play great defense for long stretches in these games, offensively we have long runs where we aren't playing together as well as we should, and it's pretty frustrating to watch from my perspective, to be honest. I truly believe that we have the talent on this team to beat almost anyone in the country, so it's tough to see us give another one away late like we did today. There are definitely some positives to look at throughout this week. Our defensive communication has been impressive so far this season. For the most part, our guys call out screens really well and make good decisions on when to switch and when to fight over the screen. That's something that I hope we keep doing well, and we need to keep getting better at it throughout the year. I also like what I saw out of Colin Smith and Aubrey Dawkins, especially in the Missouri game. Colin was aggressive in the first half of that Missouri game, especially on offense. He was getting to the rim. He was finishing strong, and it was good to see that. It was also great to see Aubrey starting to find his shot from distance and start knocking them down this week. That's a piece of his game that we know he has, and we're going to need that shooting from him throughout the rest of the year. So while there's a lot to like about our team so far this season, we certainly have a few key things that we need to be cleaned up and addressed by Coach Dawkins. First off, I think we need to get a little more creative on how we move our players around on offense when they don't have the ball, especially BJ Taylor. BJ is the type of guard that we all know that thrives when he has the ball in his hands and he's creating his own shot. So with Terrell Allen being the main ball handler in this offense, there are times where he's just kind of standing on the wing and not getting engaged quick enough. I'd like to see us set better screens off the ball so we can get it into our playmakers' hands in a great position where they can make something happen quickly. Our guys are relying a little bit too much on this isolation game and taking their man one-on-one, and we need to get better about moving the ball and playing together on offense. Another thing that we need to get better at is not letting our opponents get offensive rebounds and second chance opportunities. Missouri especially did a good job of drawing Taco out of the paint with its shooters, and we didn't have that backside forward boxing out and getting those boards. We gave up way too many offensive rebounds in both games this week, and we can't allow those extra possessions playing against good teams. So anyways, here's the deal, guys. We just finished our first month of the season 6-2, and while we're all a little disappointed with the way those two losses went down, there's a lot to like about this team that is still gelling together. We have a stretch of games coming up where I think that we can address some of these concerns and carry a ton of momentum going into conference play. I believe in these players and this coaching staff, and I know that the best is yet to come. So anyways, guys, that's all I have for now, and I hope you have a great show and a great week, and go Knights and charge on.
All right, UCF is now 6-2 on the young season. There's lots and lots of basketball left.
Thank you, Ben, for staying upbeat. He has to bring me off the ledge every once in a while. He sends me a message, and it'll be all right, he says. One and done for volleyball in the NCAA tournament, falling 3-2 to Florida Gulf Coast Thursday at the venue. Emotional senior libero Jordan Pingle, she choked back tears, reflecting on the Knights' postseason run ending way too soon.
It just goes too fast. Don't blink, because no one expects their season to end like this. And it's hard. And FGCU played a great game, and I'm proud to be a Knight, and I'm proud of the team that we had out there and of all the girls on this team. It's a very special team, and I tell them that all the time. And I was honored to be the captain libero, everything. Their grandma, I was honored to be it all. So it was a special season, and I don't want any of this to take away from that. It's just hard to end like that so suddenly.
Very emotional. A great player. Enjoyed watching her over these last couple of years. She refers to herself as grandma because she's the only senior on the team.
Oh, okay.
So she's a mentor for the other players.
Yeah.
Head coach Todd Dagenet, the Americans' coach of the year, says disappointed in the loss, but it doesn't take away from the incredible season that the Knights had.
I wasn't kidding when I said, they're a top 50 team. And you put 4 top 50 teams together and anything can happen. And just when it comes down to it, all year long, we've been a little bit better, a little bit this, a little bit that, and this time we fell short. The timing couldn't be worse, but that's just the way it is. It doesn't take away from what we did this year.
All right, disappointingly, UCF's 24-match winning streak ended on Thursday, leaving the Knights with a 27-4 record for the year.
Yeah.
What a bummer.
Yeah, would have liked to have gotten that one against FGCU. As the, month turns to December, the calendar, your Knightline planner gets a little bit shorter. Men's basketball back home December 8th. That's a 1 o'clock tip against Grambling. Women's basketball hits the road December 9th against Delaware. Referee Bias, and UCF Fiesta Bowl Talk, both in Ask Knightline when Knightline number 173 returns.
Hey, Night Nation. It's Adam from the Sons of UCF. Be sure to check out our show every Wednesday only on the Knightline Sports Network. Now, back to two guys who probably won't be Cow of the Week nominees, Andrew and Trace.
Ask a Knightline is brought to you by Chad Barr Law. Chad is a UCF alumnus and diehard Knights fan. Chad Barr Law handles auto accident, slip and fall, and personal injury cases. Call Chad today at 407-599-9036 for a free consultation. That's 407-599-9036. Armor up and call Chad Barr Law today.
We get mail, lots and lots of mail in our inbox. Time again for Ask Knightline. We answer your questions that you post to us on our Facebook page or via Twitter at the hashtag AskKnightline. Chris on Facebook. Haven't heard too much talk, but how much similarity does Mac have to another number 8 that was the face of our program?
Well, that's not for me to answer. That's for you to answer because I never got to see Culpepper play here, so...
I think in terms of a big build guy, he certainly, that's a comparison. We haven't seen a lot yet of Mac. Dante was very important to the program and taking it to another level. And when we did our Mount Rushmore polls earlier this year, he's one of the faces on that Mount Rushmore. Certainly brings to the game, and we saw it on Saturday, different dimensions than McKenzie. You know?
And I'll have to look back at some video if I can find some of him playing and to see. Somebody said that his wind-up for his throw kind of looks a lot like him and stuff like that. So I thought about that, though, seeing, number 8 as a quarterback and a big quarterback out there. So I did think of that yesterday. I remember sitting there and that thought going through my head.
Mac's not afraid to run the ball and put his shoulder down and knock over a guy, and I think that's similar to what we saw from Dante. Again, different styles, certainly, than McKenzie, and we're going to see more of it against LSU in the Fiesta Bowl. Tim on Facebook. Hate to ask this, but thoughts on the flags that were thrown, then rescinded. I'm seeing a bunch of accusations of referee bias, but also hearing Memphis got away with some holding. I joked on Twitter that Mike Oreska was on the phone to the Zebras saying, let's give UCF a break because that payday, obviously the difference.
Speaking of Mike Oreska, did you hear the boos that rained down when he walked out there? One of those very loudly was me. I was screaming my head off, booing him when he walked out for the coin toss, and when he came on giving us the conference championship trophy, I was screaming as well. So
I would think that of the various American cities, he's probably the least liked here because of his
definitely
relative silence. He chimed in a little too late. But chimed in.
Yeah, now he says this?
And it was like the last thing he said, then the confetti went crazy, and then he walked away.
Yeah.
Which seemed kind of
what
fitting.
A fool. I'll be so glad
he has not been vocal enough, and you will hear more interviews with him over the next 30 days. He'll be there for Fiesta Bowl media availabilities.
Who does he report to? Do we know? Have we ever found out who he
reports to the
reports
university presidents?
Oh, so we need to lobby them to do something about him then.
He's just
hopefully
not been as vocal as. Again, he accentuates the positives of the league, but just I don't know. For me, and I think obviously for all the people booing, not forcefully enough. He doesn't have to be rude. He doesn't have to be obnoxious, but he has to. I don't think Danny White is being rude or obnoxious. He's being persistent.
They need a PR person like that though in that spot that will do that. That will talk and defend his teams in his conference. It's ridiculous that he doesn't.
At Edward P. Melville, was that the greatest comeback in UCF football history? I vote yes, considering the circumstances, opponent, and the fact we did a 180 on Henderson in the second half. May have to ask Knight Nation for that on Twitter. Greatest comeback. It's certainly...
Well, I mean, there was a pretty big comeback last year in the Cows game and all that stuff as far as...
Yeah, but this was down multiple times. It was
down, I guess, a lot more, yeah.
I mean, they were down multiple times in this
game. I don't know about the history, but, I mean, it was a heck of a comeback, I can tell you that.
At Knight Delaney, how do we change the college football playoff system? There's your $64,000 question.
If I had the answers, I wouldn't be sitting here doing this.
Well, one to this, that the bowl system is a stranglehold on progress.
Yeah.
I listened to the press conference for the Fiesta Bowl, and they talk about themselves as if though they're a charitable nonprofit when it's a big business. As our fans are finding out as they look for airfares and hotels in Phoenix, they ship a UCF fan base some 3,000 miles away. It's business for them. There's economic impact.
Oh, huge.
But there's a stranglehold on this. You can't have sitting ADs on a cartel committee. You can't have a committee given an eye test. It's not a Miss America beauty pageant, so let's knock that off. You can't have a conference championship game in which the conference champion loses but still has got an automatic spot in the Final Four. There's a couple of ways right there. No preseason polls that overvalue strength of schedule. Let's play 6 weeks of the season and then do a poll.
Yeah.
And then if you want to have 8 teams in there and you seed them 1 through 8 based on polls, okay, there's still going to be some subjectivity. You know what? Let's just look to that model for the 1AA, the FCS.
Yeah. That's what I was just getting ready to say. I was waiting for you to stop talking.
Well, you've been mentioning that format for a long time.
Yeah.
It works just fine for them at one level of the NCAA.
Absolutely, and it's great football. And if you have a chance, if you're wanting to watch some more college football, there's more college football before the bowl games start. These NCAA, FCS playoffs, and then all the divisions below that as well. There are other divisions of college football. There's a Division II and a Division III that all have a tournament, a real honest-to-goodness tournament. There's 24 teams in the FCS tournament.
But what about academics? How do they do it? It seems to work out just fine.
It seems to work out just fine, yeah. There's no complaints as far as I'm concerned and that I've heard. The NCAA just needs to put their foot down. This is ridiculous. And it's all about money. That's all that, all these bowl games. They could turn these bowl games into playoff games. We would have to play 1 or 2 less games a year, I think, or add a couple games. So it's very easily done, and they need to do it to save college football, as far as I'm concerned. Maybe I should start a page on Twitter, Save College Football, get rid of the CFP.
At Manny Morris, Mike Norvell, 0-4 against UCF. Charlie Strong, 0-3. What other coach must hate playing UCF? I don't think Temple's coach cares much for UCF.
Yeah.
Jeff Collins. I don't think
probably none of them really like to play UCF.
I don't think Auburn's coach is too thrilled.
No.
He's had that lorded over him for a year.
LSU's coach isn't going to want to play UCF anymore after this, too.
He seems to know Randy Shannon very well. Ed Orgeron mentioned him on the conference call, and when Coach Heupel joined the call, when Coach Orgeron left and congratulated Coach Heupel, he said, "Tell Randy hello." So,
okay, well, maybe Randy Shannon can have something pre-planned for this game instead of waiting till the second half to work on what's going on.
Hey, Manny, just one question this week? Remember, Manny sent in like 4 or 5
That's
one week.
all right.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Mike on Facebook, think UCF will be, quote, motivated to play lowly LSU. He says, just kidding. Seriously, though, any clue why we weren't paired against someone a little higher on the ranking?
Well, because they don't want to do that for us. They want to keep us down as far as they can. Don't want to make any of their teams up there that make more money than us look bad.
At Chad UCF, how do we match up with LSU in the Fiesta? Give us a little bit of time. That came out in the afternoon, so we haven't had a good chance to game plan that. We'll have LSU insiders on.
I'll say that we're higher ranked than them, and they have quite a few losses, and we have 0. They have 3 losses. We have, what is it again?
0.
0.
Yeah.
Yeah, 0. We have 0 losses. They have 3.
This year or last year?
Well, both years.
Thank you.
Yeah.
See, little Abbott and Costello.
Nice.
A little coffee.
Yeah,
Right
nice.
At Brando Nitro, which I think is one of the best Twitter handles. If we win our New Year's Six Bowl, do you think Danny White will claim another national championship again this year? Should he? No, I don't think he will.
No, because the stars aren't aligned as far as with who LSU has beaten, because they haven't beaten, they lost 3 times, so
I don't
they
put it
didn't even
past him.
score against Alabama. So
I don't put it past him to do something like back-to-back undefeated champs.
Oh, yeah.
That phrase.
That could be.
There's accuracy in that.
And then also, I still think that he's going to pull something out as far as something with the CFP. I hope that he's the one that starts the antitrust movement. Really.
Well, he doesn't do anything haphazard. He thinks through it.
I'm sure he's got something planned.
He didn't stumble into a press conference Saturday night and decide to talk about this. He wanted an opportunity to speak on it. He doesn't go on Twitter and say what he says without thinking it through. And for the next month, he'll have opportunities at various media functions to share his thoughts on this process, and I think he'll take avail of that.
Yeah, for sure.
At Team Mazza, how many people can we get to travel to Tempe for the Fiesta Bowl? Going to really need Night Nation to come from a lot more than just Florida and Central Florida. It's an expensive ticket, though people find, I've heard Adam on the Sons of UCF, he's in California. So it may be a little bit easier. Speaking of that, people have mentioned flying into Las Vegas is less expensive. I don't know what it looks like at the moment. Renting a car and driving a couple of hours, that's not a bad idea to spend a day in Vegas and just price that out. And again, I found that if you go somewhere else and just do a bunch of one-ways, you can get there less expensive than the round trip to Phoenix. You just have to be creative. Like, you're not thinking right now of going to, Dallas on a one-way, but if you could Southwest, I plugged them, but you could get halfway there and then figure out another, just triangulate it a little bit. You might find it cheaper than just dialing up round trip tickets, which I think is what most people want to do first.
All right. Thank you, Clark Howard.
Now you're calling me names. Libby's got something about The Odd Couple.
That sounds like something. Have you ever listened to Clark Howard?
Yeah.
It sounds like something that he would say on air. If you want to do good on airline travel, the way he talks.
You know what I heard him say one time? Is he still on the air locally?
Yeah, every night.
He says he buys razor blades once a year that he sharpens.
Hey man,
home.
I mean he's a really smart financial dude, man. He comes up with all kinds of crazy
millions of dollars
things.
in his 401k because he's sharpening razor blades.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they pay him to talk about all these things that he does.
All right, everybody, especially new folks, and of course you, Manny, as well. Thanks for sending in your questions. Send them in every week. #AskNightline.
And seriously, somebody could probably call Clark Howard and ask him how the best way to travel. I would love it if somebody did that.
Try and get him on.
Well, you never know. I could try to call in though to his show and ask. I don't know, maybe. Now time for a look around the American featuring C. Austin Cox.
I'm C. Austin Cox from the AAC Daily on BCSNN, here to give you a quick look around the American Athletic Conference as we head into the 2018-19 bowl season. The UCF Knights are once again champions of the American Athletic Conference after another thrilling title game that saw Josh Heupel's squad fight its way back from a 17-point deficit and put the Memphis Tigers away yet again. It didn't take double overtime for UCF to win 56-41, but the game was full of excitement. Daryl Mack Jr. had some worried in the first half, losing 2 fumbles to give the Tigers an edge, but the freshman signal caller came out firing in the second half and had a hand in all 5 second-half touchdowns. The Knights extended their national leading win streak to 25 in a row, and for their efforts, were rewarded with a trip to the Fiesta Bowl, where UCF will face the LSU Tigers. As for Memphis, those Tigers accepted an invitation to the Birmingham Bowl and will face Wake Forest on Saturday, December 22nd at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Central at Legion Field in Birmingham, Alabama. The game will be broadcast nationally on ESPN. That game will mark the 5th matchup between Memphis and Wake Forest, but the first since 1967. The overall series is currently tied at 2-2, with Memphis winning the last meeting back in 67, 42-10. The Tulane Green Wave accepted a bid to play in the AutoNation Cure Bowl down in Orlando, Florida, and will face off against the Louisiana Lafayette Raging Cajuns of the Sun Belt Conference. The game's set to be played on December 15th at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, 12:30 p.m. Central, inside Camping World Stadium, and will be broadcast live on CBS Sports Network. Meanwhile, over in the AAC East, the Military Bowl, presented by Northrop Grumman, benefiting the USO, announced that Virginia Tech and the University of Cincinnati Bearcats have accepted invitations to play in this year's game on Monday, December 31st at Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium in Annapolis, Maryland. That game is set to be televised on ESPN, and the bowl will serve as a rematch of the 2014 Military Bowl, which Virginia Tech won before a sellout crowd of 34,277. It will be the second appearance for each team in the Military Bowl. As for USF, the Bulls will represent the American Athletic Conference in this year's Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl against the Marshall Thundering Herd on Thursday, December 20th in an 8 p.m. kickoff at Raymond James Stadium. The game will be televised on ESPN and marks USF's 4th straight bowl appearance and 10th overall. The Bulls have won each of their last 2 bowl games, downing Texas Tech 38-34 and South Carolina 46-39 in overtime to mark back-to-back Birmingham Bowl wins, and have won 5 of their last 6 bowl appearances. Owning the American Athletic Conference's longest active bowl streak, Houston will be traveling to Fort Worth as the Cougars get ready to battle Army in the 2018 Armed Forces Bowl. The Cougs and Black Knights will square off on December 22nd at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 2:30 Central at Amon G. Carter Stadium in a game that will air on ESPN. The final AAC Bowl announcement of the day came for Temple from the Walk-Ons Independence Bowl, which selected the Owls to play in its bowl against the 7-5 Duke Blue Devils. The game will be played on Thursday, December 27th at 1:30 p.m. at Independence Stadium in Shreveport, Louisiana, and will be broadcast nationally on ESPN. This is Temple's 4th straight bowl and 8th in school history. Temple has been bowl eligible for 5 consecutive seasons and 8 times in the past 10 years. This is Temple's first time playing in the Independence Bowl. That's just some of what's happening around the American Athletic Conference this week. To get more news and updates on the Power 6, you can catch me on the AAC Daily every Monday through Friday on the Best College Sports News Network, BCSNN, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Spotify. Now back to Andrew and Trace in Orlando with more UCF Knightline.
And now, news and notes from the world of UCF sports. Women's basketball moves to 6-1 after beating Chattanooga 75-37.
Another good start for the women. Women's soccer, 3 nights earned recognition by the United Soccer Coaches Association. Stephanie Sanders named 2nd team All-Region. Vera Veras and Carrie Lawrence earned 3rd team All-Region recognition.
Men's soccer, junior Cal Jennings named a semifinalist for the 2018 Mac Herman Trophy, the most prestigious award in college soccer that recognizes the most outstanding player of the year. Cal is one of 15 semifinalists, the only player in program history to be named a semifinalist.
Men's golf head coach Bryce Waller inks an extension through the 2023 season. Andrew, here's 5 sentences for you.
And finally, yeah, nice. I appreciate that. And finally, Bears repeating, UCF led the American in its all-conference awards with 17 selections. Quarterback Mackenzie Milton earned the league's Offensive Player of the Year award, back-to-back for KZ. And he was joined on the first team by offensive tackle Jake Brown, offensive guard Cole Schneider, center Jordan Johnson, linebacker Nate Evans, cornerback Novell Clark, and safety Richie Grant. Those were the easiest names that I've said in
You know
any
those
of these.
very well.
Yeah.
I thought Josh Heupel was robbed, though.
Absolutely
Coach
robbed.
of the Year. No disrespect to Luke Fickell. Yeah. He did a tremendous job turning them around, but you know what? He lost to UCF.
He did.
Tell me, Josh Heupel didn't, back to Frost. Frost is taking over. There was talent on this team.
You had to mention that, didn't you?
There's talent on the team, right?
Yeah.
It's easy to go from 0 to some number.
Yeah.
He comes in, has to change. There's no holdovers.
Yeah.
There's no Sean Beckton to smooth things over, keep things going with recruiting, change over of everything. Hurricane game, we've gone through all the adversity.
And
loses his starting quarterback?
Yeah. And with, Heupel, or with Frost making things difficult for him for recruiting as well by, messing with the data and taking the data. And I'm sure, making stuff as hard as possible. So Heupel needs to be Coach of the Year, personally, and the whole thing, Coach of the Year.
Yeah,
that's what
again,
I want.
Luke Fickell right up there, but not Coach of the Year. Should have been Heupel.
This has been Knightline 173. I'm Andrew Phegley.
I'm Trace Trylko. Go Knights!
Charge on. Champs again!
UCF, charge on to the field. With our spirits, we'll never yield. Black and gold. AAC, F, Trylko,